All right, hello and welcome to the inaugural Sunday podcast, the Give and Go Sunday podcast. It's February 2nd, 2014, Super Bowl Sunday. I'm excited to have this podcast up and running. Should be a good time. I like a nice Sunday morning basketball talk. I think it'll provide some real nice insight into the NBA.
A little bit more loosey-goosey talk, too, not all the tight, wrapped-up radio stuff.
Mm-hmm. None of that formal, pre-planned stuff. It's all freestyle.
Not that we're ever actually formal, but...
Yeah, exactly.
Formal sounds a little bit too nice.
Yeah,
but anyways.
Good week in the NBA, good weekend.
I was going to say, just really a weekend. I mean, yesterday was real interesting.
Definitely
was. Interesting. What was it? Wednesday night, I think. No, it would have been Friday night. Friday night, you were talking about when we were just chilling in the room about how everyone was freaking out because Andrew Bynum was in downtown Indy. And then Saturday, Andrew Bynum is signed by the Pacers.
Yeah, it's an interesting move. Not really sure what kind of impact he'll have, just because they already have some good depth up front.
Yeah.
I mean, Hibbert and David West are obviously the starters. Are going to play a majority of the minutes. And then they've got Jan Mahimi as well, who's a solid backup.
I think they trade one of those bigs.
You think so?
I think they should. I don't think you need four guys down there who are going to be all trying to get their 15 minutes in, because that's just going to stir up too much commotion in that locker room.
Yeah. See, my thought is Bynum is kind of it's a risk. Obviously, you can't.
Well, he's only there for $1 million.
Exactly, but I mean, if you go away or go ahead and trade, say Jan Mahimi, and then Bynum doesn't pan out, then you just traded your reliable backup big.
Yeah, but if you're going up against a team versus like Miami, especially in the East, you're talking about putting say you trade Yahimi, and that's worst case scenario, you get rid of him and Bynum goes down. Then you're talking so Hibbert has 4 fouls. There's 7 minutes left in the third quarter. Let's put Scola in at the 5. Let's put Scola in at the 5. David West can be at the 4. You got you're still the rest of your lineup's still strong there. I don't think that's a bad option, especially if you're talking about going against a team like the Heat. Scola's he's not supremely athletic, but he's got some defensive.
Yeah,
he's not a liability, and I think he could at least hold the Bosch to where he wouldn't be a liability.
He's at least smart enough and savvy enough to play Chris Bosch. Obviously, Bosch is much more athletic than he is. It could probably take him off the dribble for the most part. But Scola knows what he's doing. He knows how to play defense.
Well, and the nice thing about that is if you have to put Scola in there in that situation, the rest of that defense knows how to rotate. They are a supremely intellectual defense. They don't rely totally off athleticism.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't hurt that they've got...
They have their sets down.
Yeah.
And they know how to rotate. They know where they need to be if someone calls for help, whatever the case may be.
Yeah. They're a terrific team defense. That obviously would help any liability that they would have with Scola.
Absolutely. And I think that ultimately is going to be what... I think that's part of where that's my thought process, at least, in trading one of the bigs, probably Yahimi. Because who else? You're not going to get... You just signed Bynum. You're not going to get rid of him, obviously. You're not going to get rid of Hibbert. You're not going to get rid of West. You're not going to get rid of Scola. Scola's a viable offensive option, too, on most nights. He's going to put you up at least 10 to 14, depending on his minutes.
Yeah, I don't know. If I had to make a prediction, I'd probably say they just hang on to him. I don't really know what they would get from Mahimi. I mean, maybe...
maybe it's just freeing up cap space.
That could be the case, but they don't
get a second-round draft pick out of them that you can throw in a package somewhere else.
I guess. To me, that's something that they could do later on, though. No need to rush. I mean, if they're not going to make any more moves... They don't need to free up that cap space.
I know. I think it depends on you got Bird there. You got Frank Vogel. I think whatever decision they do end up making will be the right one for that team. I have no doubt about that. But I think it would be wise to get rid of one of them at least. That way you don't have so much clutter.
Definitely. I mean, I don't know. to me, that's not a problem, though, having that many bigs. It's not like they're all need a bunch of playing time. They're not star players necessarily. Yangihimi definitely isn't a star player.
No,
he's a solid, reliable backup, so he's not going to be too upset if he loses some minutes, or at least I wouldn't think he'd be. And then Bynum, being the risk that he is, being in his third team already this season, he doesn't really have the leverage to say, I need to play. With the way the fact that he was injured all of last year, he hasn't really done much this year. He has no leverage.
There were a few games there for the Cavs where he was putting up solid numbers.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, he's still obviously quite talented.
He's Andrew Bynum.
Yeah,
you know what you're gonna get from him. He's obviously he's not like athletic.
I mean, for his size, he's fairly athletic. I mean, obviously he got hurt, so.
I mean, he's hampered still. Obviously, I don't think he's gonna necessarily get over that injury ever.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there are still nights where if you throw him in because Hibbert's in foul trouble, there will be nights where I would not be surprised if it crosses Frank Vogel's mind like, yo, maybe I should leave this dude in.
Yeah,
because he is that kind of a talent.
Exactly.
He's a once or twice in a generation talent at the center spot.
Mm-hmm. He's very skilled, well-rounded game as well. He's pretty good on the defensive end. Not great, but
I ultimately think they signed him because of Greg Oden.
Probably, but
I mean, I think they wanted to kind of counteract whatever Miami had, and this was their way. And I don't think they were planning on being able to do it.
The Greg Oden move was to counteract Roy Hibbert, though. It's not like Greg Oden.
That's the thing, though. Now you've got another guy. You've got Andrew Bynum, who's another great. Okay, he's not great now, but he's a guy who's capable of playing at a great level of play. Maybe he can only give it to you for 10 minutes a night, but if that's all you need versus Greg Oden to neutralize him, then you've got exactly what you need, I think, to defeat Miami.
Yeah.
I think this sets Indiana up really well for, just with the extra fouls, the extra body there, the extra minutes.
It's a good move. And the biggest part
he is a rim protector.
Yes, and the biggest part of it is that it's very low risk. I mean, it's virtually no risk. They signed him for the remainder of the season
for $1 million.
For $1 million. It's not really big, and it's not a big issue if he doesn't do anything.
I wish I could just sit around my regular life and talk like I'm throwing $1 million out and it's no big deal.
Yeah,
that'd be so nice. God, $1 million would be sweet. I definitely wouldn't be dropping it on Andrew Bynum if I had it, but
no.
Oh well. The Wiz beat the Thunder.
Yeah, that's as surprising as it is because of the way the Thunder have been playing, and the fact that Kevin Durant didn't even play the fourth quarter on Friday night. So you think he'd rested up and ready to go. I was in a way not surprised. They've been on this win streak, and you tend to see that happen when teams are on a great win streak. They don't lose to another great team because when they play those great teams, they're fired up and ready to go. And when they played the Heat on Wednesday
I think it's just a classic example of playing down to your competition.
Exactly.
And there's nothing wrong with it at this point in the season. You're in late January. You just went on a tear. You got up to the first place. If you got to take a game off, you got to take a game off. I think Scott Brooks realizes that. I think that's why you didn't see too much. I don't know. He didn't seem too down about it afterwards.
No,
he was just kind of like whatever.
Because it's not that big of a deal.
No, it's not.
It's a loss. They're going to happen because they've been playing so great lately. A loss doesn't really hurt them that much because they've won however many 9 games in a row before that, or 10 games. They were on a nice little win streak.
There was a 10-game win streak that they just had, and then the Wiz snapped it.
So, yeah,
but John Wall, through the first 17 minutes of the game, was absolutely on fire too. He had only made 1 bucket, but he already had 5 assists, 8 rebounds, and 4 steals. He had outrageous off ball numbers. It was crazy ridiculous. And and then later in the game he started to feel up and he found his stroke a little bit. He started making some driving layups, and he turned on the Jets ultimately.
Yeah, to me, John Wall is one of those players that I think is overlooked a lot. I mean, obviously his numbers haven't been that great, but potential-wise, I think John Wall has the potential to be the best point guard in the league, maybe. I mean, with Chris Paul, you think in the next handful of years, his skills will start to decline a little bit.
What is he? He's like 29 now, isn't
he? I'd say he's probably even older than that, isn't he?
No,
he came in the league before LeBron and LeBron and them are like 29 right now. LeBron's 29.
Let me look up how old he is.
Take a look at that. I'd say he's probably over 30 or 31.
Because he's still, clearly the best point guard in the league as of right now.
Well, and the thing about him is that he doesn't rely as much on his athleticism anymore because of those injuries that he had. Yeah, before he was a little bit more of an athletic point guard, but he had those injuries when
he's 29.
He is 29?
Yeah. Oh, 28.
Oh, wow.
He'll turn 29 in May.
Wow. He's younger than I thought he was, so he's younger than LeBron.
Because when did he come into the NBA? He was in the 2005 NBA draft. So that was after LeBron.
But he did go to college.
Yeah, all 4 years at Wake Forest.
Oh, really? 4? Wow. I did
no,
not know.
No, 3.
Okay.
3. My apologies.
Well, still, that's
3 years.
3 years is a lot more than we're used to seeing.
Well, yeah. Well,
but I guess at that time you could enter the draft out of high school. So if you went to college, it was because you wanted to go to college.
Yeah. Well, and I think he ultimately just went to college to develop his skills.
Yeah.
He's a smart dude, obviously. We can get into that, but
yeah. But back to John Wall, I see so much potential in him. People forget that he was the undoubted number one recruit coming out of high school.
Yep.
Had a terrific year at Kentucky. Brought them to the Final Four that year. They lost to West Virginia, if I'm not mistaken, in the semifinal game. Pretty sure it was West Virginia. It was either the Final Four or the Elite Eight, but I think
it was the Elite Eight because West Virginia didn't go to the final. They didn't go to the title game. I think that was the Elite Eight.
So they lost either way. Took them deep into the tournament.
Yeah.
Was the undisputed number 1 overall pick. The Wizards obviously saw something in him. They gave him that max extension.
I think he's overlooked because he's had a couple of injuries that have kind of not set him back, but have taken him out of play. So you haven't got to see as much out of him as you would a guy who's been fully healthy. Is 3 years now? Yeah. I think he's in his third year. He came out with Kyrie, didn't he? No, a year before. Yes. So he's in his 4th year. Yeah, because he signed the extension last year.
Because he was the number 1 overall pick as well.
Yeah. So he's on a 5-year, $90 million deal. The Wiz know what they were going to get out of him. There's no doubt about that. Now you're finally starting to see it.
Yeah.
He is everywhere on the court. He can do everything on when he's asked or needed to do it. I don't know. He's not one of those guys that I see stepping down from a challenge by any means. He knows he's got it going on.
He definitely does. He's got so many different things, like you said. He can do so much. His one weakness was probably his outside shooting. We're seeing that improve a little bit.
It's still not great.
When he's a rhythm shooter, you see him knock down those shots where it's just kind of the ideal.
He knocks them down in bunches.
Yeah,
he really does.
He gets hot, and then when he gets a good rhythm look, like maybe a kickback off an offensive rebound, you see stuff like that. And he's got nobody in his face. He's able to catch, time it up, shoot. When it looks smooth like that, he usually knocks him down. But it's all the other things he can do. The fact that he's 6'3", 6'4", I think he's listed at 6'4", extremely athletic, super fast, end to end, one of the fastest players, if not the fastest player in the league.
Yeah.
And then obviously a good distributor and a terrific defender, at least big play-wise on defense. He's a little bit liable to get beat by a smarter, savvy point guard. Like you could see a Chris Paul beating him because he likes to go for those steals and go for those big chase-down blocks, and sometimes that leaves him vulnerable in other aspects of the defense. He leaves players open or is able to over-pursue on something and then get beat.
I think his length on defense is, he's obviously not a terrific defender. He's not a guy who is, he's not going to be one of those guys who's an all-star on both ends of the floor.
Yeah, he's not a lockdown defender.
He's got the length. He's it's kind of like we talked about it the other night. Kevin Durant, his defense coming out of college was not he was not going to be considered an elite defender for at least a few years. But his length makes him a viable, solid defender every night just because of his length. I think that's where you're at with John Wall, too.
If you have the combination of length and athleticism.
He's 6'5". He's got a wingspan, I think it's about 6'7", 6'8". He's he's freakishly athletic.
That's the key.
He's I mean, he's got all the tools to be a solid defender. And I think if he tuned up the defensive end of his game, and you don't have to necessarily get to the elite point with him. I mean, especially with being on that team. You've got Nene and Gortat down low. You've got two guys who are not they're not good. They're not like elite rim defenders, but
Nene is.
And Nene is old and
he's
injured.
He's just Nene. That's the only way to describe him, really.
Yeah, he's a character. Exactly. But Gortat being down there, I think, helps him a lot, especially on the defensive end.
Gortat's very reliable.
Yeah, that's a good word to describe it too. He's reliable. He's a reliable rim protector, defender, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of John Wall, there's been plenty of talk about the dunk contest. I'd be very excited to see him. And then now the new rumor going around is that Damian Lillard has been asked to join the dunk contest.
Well, I mean, Adam Silver, I think, has been. He's gotten off to a pretty good start here.
He's doing so great.
It's only been 24 hours, and there's already more rumors circulating about the dunk contest than David Stern could get in his last 10 years.
Yeah. I mean, just imagine. We heard Paul George a few weeks ago say that he would want to be in the dunk contest if the competition was there. I mean, if John Wall and Damian Lillard were in the dunk contest.
We saw what he can do in a game.
Yeah,
it's on a fast break nonetheless.
Well, yeah, and then even that same dunk, he did that exact same dunk in the dunk contest a few years ago.
Yep.
It's just that nobody saw it because he turned the lights off and wore glow-in-the-dark clothes.
Yeah.
That definitely hurt him, but he did that same dunk, and it was unbelievable. Obviously, now we saw it in game, so everybody knows what it's like.
That crowd, that was one of the loudest things I've ever heard come out of my TV.
Yeah, I would love to be at a game like that, just to see something like that happen. Because it really catches you off guard in that situation.
Oh, yeah. You just think he's going to go up and slam it. He starts spinning and throwing his arms around, and then the ball goes to the hoop, and he stands there like, I just murdered the hoop, and he's, I don't know.
It really was terrific.
It was a sequence.
Yes, it was. But what do you think about the idea of Wall, Lillard, even potentially Paul George, if those guys join, he may do the same thing. So what do you think that does for All-Star Weekend? Everybody knows that All-Star Saturday Night has lost a little bit of its luster over the past 10 years or so.
Yeah. Well, and like Friday night with the rookie-sophomore challenge, that's always I wouldn't say it's always a great game, but it's always at least entertaining to watch because you get to see guys of about the same skill level go at it, and they can be flashy.
Yes, and it's fun because you get to see the future of the league.
Exactly. But then in Saturday, like you said, kind of lost over a step. I really enjoy the skills challenge and the three-point contest. The three-point contest usually always got one or two guys who are not necessarily household names, but if you follow the NBA, it's a common name. The dunk contest, however, kind of like you said, ever since Dwight Howard did it in, what was it, like 09?
I'm not quite sure.
08, 09, something like that. It was really early in high school. It's really lost a lot of its, pizzazz. I mean, when he went to do it, I think he was really the first star to do it ever since Vince Carter did it.
Yeah, probably. I'm sure there was
first big name to do it.
I'm sure there was somebody in there that we just aren't thinking of.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You have guys like Jeff Green and don't get me wrong, he's a phenomenal dunker.
Yeah.
But he's not I don't know, LeBron James, if he could get in there and, if he was trying to be flashy, he could show those dudes up 10 out of 10 times.
Well, and that's what I want to see. I mean, back in the day, it was Dominique and MJ and all the biggest of the biggest, the stars
Dr.
were in
J.
the dunk contest. Exactly.
He had all these guys.
And they were in it multiple times. I mean, Dwight Howard was in it once. Paul George was in it once before he was even the name that he is now. Yeah, it was back when he was, you sure it was his rookie year?
Pretty sure.
It was either his rookie or second year. I mean, he hasn't been in the league for very long.
This is his fourth year.
Yeah.
So, I'm pretty sure it was his rookie year.
We'll have to look into that. I'm not sure. But like I was saying, those guys were in it. Paul George was in it once before he was a star. And Dwight Howard was in it once. He was a star at that point. But
Dwight Howard was in it at his peak.
Yes. But, I mean, MJ and Dominique and all those guys, they were in it multiple times.
They were in it
4,
during
5,
their prime.
6 times.
They did it in their prime.
It was something that they took pride in. They wanted to win the dunk contest, so that's why they were in it every year. Because to say they lost the year before,
you came back so you win.
Yeah, that made them upset. They wanted to win. Well, with the guys nowadays, it just seems like they don't care at all. I mean, there's nothing for them. There's no pride in it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird because, in a sense, it makes a lot of sense. I think from a player perspective of, I don't want to go out and it's not like a huge energy exertion, but as one of those star players, especially on a championship caliber team like LeBron, like Paul George now, like Damian Lillard, not John Wall, obviously. They're not going to go anywhere this year. They're going to make the playoffs, if that, and that'll be about it for them. But those guys like LeBron, like Paul George, even that 4 or 5 hours of rest where you don't have to do anything, you can relax or just sit on the sideline and watch, as opposed to being out there and moving, I think is big for them. Especially when we're seeing so many guys get injured just because of the compact scheduling. I think any time you can get off for them is good time off. And I think that's where you're seeing a lot of guys take that, not go and do that.
Yeah.
The skills contest that's kind of just like going to practice for an hour for a lot of those guys, those point guards, shooting guards who do that. The skills challenge it's a scrimmage. Same thing with the All-Star game. So you don't mind doing that. You have 11 other guys out there who are willing to go play and kind of share even minutes. So that, to me, it's not surprising, but it would be nice to see guys get out there again and go, try and make a show out of it, which is what it's all about. And the league, the executive offices, they've all been preaching it. This is for the fans. And
it is.
I don't know.
The energy concerns are there. The way I look at it is, obviously, I don't know. It's hard for me to speak because I'm not in the NBA. I don't go through the grind. I don't have to play every single day or a couple times a week and all the travel, whatever. But that aside, these guys are world-class athletes. I mean, if MJ can do it, if Dominique can do it, if Dr. J can do it, I don't see why they can't. There's the advances in technology and all the things that these guys go through training-wise and medicine when they're hurt or when they're wore down. I just think that it shouldn't be that much of an issue to put up forth a little bit of extra effort for the fans, to give back to the fans. Obviously, the fans give so much to the players in that they buy tickets and jerseys and merchandise, watch games on TV, and all these things that come together to provide the $20 million salaries that you see them make.
Yeah.
So I don't think that it should be that hard for them to go out a little extra. The other thing that I've heard is that the players are a bit concerned about their image and their brand, because if they were to lose, that would look bad for them. Like, I've heard that one reason why LeBron doesn't want to go in is because if he loses, it would be a major story. That's all people would talk about for a couple days, or at least from the time
back and win it again, dude.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's how I feel.
Try to win it again.
Yeah, that's how I feel. But players are so caught up in the brand compared to back in the day. It really wasn't the same. Really, that's where it started, was with MJ. When
being in the dunk contest started the brand.
Yeah, that helped his brand. But now you can have a brand without any of that stuff. Now when you're a NBA player, you come out, you get your own shoe line, all that stuff. You got your
Wiggins has already got $180 million on the table, supposedly.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's
$180 million, and he's younger than you and me.
Yes,
the dude's
a year younger
years
than us.
old.
Yeah.
He's 2 years younger than us.
Well, I mean, grade wise.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Obviously, everybody's birthday is different. So
yeah, he's like a year and a half younger than me at least, and he's he's already got $180 million sitting on the table.
Yeah, that would be nice. I wish I was 6'8" and athletic and could play basketball, but I have to settle for playing up at the rec. So.
Hey, playing at the rec ain't all bad.
Well, no, it's great. You just don't get paid millions of dollars to do it. But
yeah, that'd be nice. Maybe someone will throw $50 million into the rec leagues.
Yeah, that'd be nice, but I don't see it happening. But
probably not.
I wouldn't get your hopes up.
My hopes aren't up.
Really, what else should we get to?
We had some double-duty fire trucks running around outside. Hello.
Interesting. I wonder what's going down. Some good games last night. I know Toronto and Portland was a game that I was able to catch a little bit of after I got off of work. That was a really exciting game.
LeBron saying he's not coasting anymore. He's going to start stepping it up. I mean, everything LeBron says it's got to be true.
It is, but it's almost one of those situations where if I were advising LeBron, I would just tell him to keep his mouth shut because he can't. There's really it's a no-win situation if you come out and say that you're not coasting anymore, because then it comes out to people being like, oh, so you were deliberately coasting? Like, we understand that you were, maybe taking it easy for a month or so in the season to save a little energy for later, but now you're actually coming out and saying that you weren't trying.
We got to move. I mean, the media, really needs to move past that. You got to get past the point of, what the hell is a story anymore? LeBron James said, okay, if you want to come out and talk about his interview and you can try and analyze his interview, that's cool with me, but I don't want, I hate the stories of, LeBron James said he was going to flip the switch on for one night and his team got beat because they had, dudes have off nights. You don't go play pickup basketball,
but that's
assuming you're going to play, at least decently because you've been hot lately, and then you have a bad night.
That's my exact point, though. You literally just pointed out exactly what I meant, in that guys have off nights, so why would you come out in the first place and say that? Because no matter what you think is a good story, if a guy comes out and says he's going to flip the switch on tonight, then people are obviously going to watch, expecting him to flip the switch on and perform at this unbelievable level because he's LeBron freaking James. And then when he doesn't do that...
Well, let's be realistic here. An unbelievable night for most guys is LeBron James on a bad night.
That's what obviously, I understand that LeBron James is on another level. That's what I mean by when he says he's going to come out and flip the switch and put on this great show. Go ahead and watch my game Wednesday night, is what he said that earlier time against the Wizards. That's going to make people watch because it's LeBron James.
I don't have a problem with him saying that, but I just have a problem with blowing it out of proportion from not the standpoint of, okay, not from your standpoint of don't say it because you're just going to stir up commotion. But for me, I mean, those guys are on the level of publicity is not bad. It's all good, I think, for them.
Well, yeah,
anything they can do to get more people to watch the Miami Heat is, that's, why not?
Well, yeah.
I don't really have a problem with it. It's just that, and maybe it's just a thing with ESPN, riding Miami's jockstrap, but I just don't think you need to come out and say, what does it mean that he said he was going to turn on the switch and he had an off night? Well, you just said it right there, Linda Cohen. He didn't have, he had an off night.
Yeah, the whole what does it mean stuff, I get what you're saying there. That bugs the crap out of me.
That's what bothers me, is that they report on this like it's a
everything has a meaning.
Yeah, it's like, oh shit, LeBron didn't play and score 40 points and put up 15 rebounds and 8 assists and come too shy of a triple-double because he said he was going to flip on the switch.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying by that, but just my point is that LeBron doesn't need to say that anyway because it's going to do is cause commotion if he doesn't have a good game. If LeBron has a great game, if he didn't say a word, came out and scored 50 points, everybody's going to be talking about it either way, no matter what he said before the game. But if he comes out and says he's going to flip the switch and he doesn't do well, there's more talk, and it's not in a positive way for him. But the whole thing about him saying that he was coasting and now he's coasting, to me is just, it looks bad on his part, because although we all knew he was coasting, when you come out and say you were coasting, that just takes it to a whole nother level. Like, oh, this guy, now, I mean, I
don't think it makes him look bad at all. I think it's more of this dude knows they know what they're doing. If he wants to come out and say he's coasting, who cares?
People that pay money to watch or pay money to go to games and will pay money for League Pass to watch games, they care. If you buy a $100 ticket to go see LeBron James when the Heat come to your town, say you live in Washington and you buy this ticket to watch LeBron come to DC, and then you find out later on that he was coasting, and that
he still put up 25, 5, and 6.
Well, yeah, because he's LeBron James.
Exactly.
But I'm just saying,
when you got to watch LeBron play,
when you pay for something, you're expecting to see them.
You can't get A+ LeBron style game from LeBron every night.
I'm not talking about.
Fans should expect that.
I'm not talking about A+ stats or like A+ performance. I'm talking about A+ effort.
I am. That's exactly what I'm saying. You can't expect that from a dude every night, especially when we're all talking about how they should shorten the season or lengthen it out so you don't have back-to-backs. Don't go buy that back-to-back ticket. Save it up to where another Saturday night where your family has nothing going on, and the ticket's the same price, and it's March now. Let's go watch LeBron when he's trying to do something. People go when it works for them. I don't think the average fan who goes to watch a game like that is terribly concerned with, is LeBron going to give his A+ effort? They want to go watch LeBron play and see the specimen that is a 6'8", 265-pound dude running up the court and playing supreme-level basketball.
Well, yeah. They're not going into the game. They're not concerned. They're not sitting here thinking, "Oh, I wonder if LeBron's going to give his best effort tonight." They're just expecting it. When you go to a game, you're expecting that the players are trying. And obviously, we all know that the Heat were coasting. What I'm saying is the difference is him actually coming out and saying it. We were coasting. That just, to me, it gives me a bad feeling in my stomach. Like,
it doesn't bother me.
They weren't trying.
It doesn't bother me a bit. What? Even in those games, watching those on League Pass, it's still fun to watch. They still make amazing plays. It's not that they're they're not giving 100% of what they've got. I don't find it realistic to expect that from anybody. And if you want to come out and say it, that's fine. Just because Kevin Durant doesn't come out and say it doesn't mean it's not true. You can go out there on any given night and say, "Oh, look, Kevin Durant's not playing as hard as he could."
I know. I pointed that out, that I understand that they don't play, and I completely understand why they don't play hard, because it is a grind. It's an 82-game season. I'm just saying the moral behind it, the coming out and saying that, "Oh, yeah, I wasn't trying for the last month, and now I'm going to try," okay? That just, it doesn't put out a good image for the player and for the fans. The casual fan that doesn't know or that doesn't understand the 82-game season and the ups and downs and preparing for the playoffs. Just the casual fan that just hears, "Oh, I went to that game and now LeBron's saying he wasn't even trying." That just doesn't sit right with me.
I don't know. It doesn't bother me too much. It's not a...
Yeah, it's not an end-of-the-world type deal. I'm not freaking out about it. I'm just saying,
I understand
if I were advising LeBron, I'd tell him to maybe not come out and say that for the last month I wasn't trying. I would just say, you know what, why don't you just, if you want to flip the switch on now, go right ahead and do it. People will notice because you'll be putting up
insane
LeBron James numbers, and the Heat will win 10 games in a month or something like that. But
yeah, when I go into click on a bunch of box scores, and I'm scrolling through, Kyle Lowry had 29 and 4. Cool, that was a really good game for him. If I say LeBron James had 19, 6, and 6, I'm thinking, what happened? What did the other team do to shut LeBron down?
Yeah, my thought for that is
19 points, 5 and 5. Come on.
Honestly, the first thing that pops into my head if I see numbers like that for LeBron is, they were up by 40, and he ended up sitting out most of the second half.
It's just, it's insane. To me that you can. I think it's getting to the point where we're starting to. I don't want to say taking it for granted, but we really are. I think at this point. Or at least a lot of people are.
We are.
Because when I go into the stat sheet and I scroll over, there are many nights I do it. I just scroll over LeBron's oh, cool, he had 27, 9, and 6. And it's just you come back on it the next day when you saw, or 2 days later, he's playing Toronto and he goes, I think he had 24, 5, and 7. And I was just what? And then you start thinking about it, you're that dude these are unreal numbers for anybody else.
Yeah, well, the reason why we don't freak out about a game like that, you see him score 26 and have 9 assists maybe.
He only missed 4 shots.
It's because, the reason why we don't get so worked up about it is because those are his averages. If you're used to seeing that every night, then you're not.
But even when he goes for 30 like 31 points. There was a night he went for like 31 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 or 8 assists. And I was just like, oh, cool, LeBron played again tonight. I don't know. It's unreal. And Paul George is getting there. Kevin Durant's getting there. Obviously, he had the streak, so his stuff was getting, a little more attention, obviously.
Yeah, he was, because for a couple weeks there, he was scoring 40-plus.
And then we were watching the game versus Brooklyn Friday. He couldn't miss.
No.
He was making shots with dudes in his face. He was making the shots when he was getting fouled and they weren't calling it. It was unreal. But LeBron does that. Kevin Durant does too, but they do it every night.
Yeah.
It's
the same way with guys like Kevin Love, even Chris Paul. You just see the numbers.
Kevin Love is having an unreal year.
Oh, yeah. Statistically, he's been like this, though, for a couple years now.
Yeah.
He's added the pass into his game, but even...
I think Kevin Love putting up the assists now is what's really, it's staggering to me to see him. He's posting, this season, like 24, 13, and 4?
Yeah, something like that.
That's...
A big part of that is just that he's fitting into this offense now. For the first time, really, in the Rick Adelman tenure as the coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves, they're finally able to run the offense that he has, the corner offense, because they're healthy. Now this year, now Peck is out with his Achilles injury. He has a strain, a slight strain in his Achilles.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, they've got Peck on the inside. They're able to run a really nice high-low post game with Kevin Love and Peck, where Love is able to catch the ball either at around the elbow or even past the three-point line, and he can feed it into Peck, who can get around and seal off his guy better than just about anybody. He can kick it to Kevin Martin coming off the screens. Cool. Yeah, there's a guy sitting right outside of the room that we're in.
They can probably hear the bass thump.
Bumping his bass. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I'm jealous.
I wish I had that blue Chevy Trailblazer.
Yeah. But just for Kevin Love, we're used to the numbers that he puts up now, so that normally if you see a stat line like 26 and 15, you would go, wow, holy crap. But
then Love, you see it's Kevin Love, and you're like,
15 rebounds is not out of the norm for Kevin Love.
No, not when he averaged 13. It's like, I don't know. There's a lot of guys we could go to, and like even Blake Griffin, he's starting to act like the last 15 games or so going 25 and like 7 and 7 or whatever.
He's been unbelievable.
I just glaze over like, I was kind of waiting for it. Or, it's not something unexpected.
Mm-hmm. Griffin's really taking the next step this year.
Absolutely.
Big thing is his free throws. He's knocking down
73 right now.
And over the last couple weeks, it's been over 80. So, I'm happy to see it because Griffin's a guy that I never really liked. I was always kind of a Griffin hater.
Yeah.
And the fact that his game is becoming more well-rounded, more polished, I like it because I like to see that. I do not like the one-dimensional, just guys that are athletic, and that's the only reason why they're good. I like a well-rounded basketball player that can do many different things.
Yeah. The Grizzlies are in the playoffs again.
Yeah, I think the Grizzlies will make playoffs.
There's still that team that, to me, is just like, you're looking at, if the playoffs started today, obviously a real, kind of a not realistic scenario, but the Thunder would play the Grizzlies right now. The Grizzlies are not a team the Thunder want to face in the first round.
They're a team that nobody wants to face in the first round. They cause matchup problems for so many teams because they've got that size on the inside.
And I'm looking at it right now. The Clippers are in 4th at 34 and 16. Okay? The Grizzlies are down in the 8th spot at 26 and 20. They've played 4 less games. Or no.
The Grizzlies won't be in the 8th spot at the end of the year. That's in my opinion, because the reason why they're there now is because they dealt with so many injuries.
They're a team that, given a little bit of fortune, could legitimately make a push for the 4th spot.
Who would they have to jump right now?
The Warriors, the Suns, and the Rockets, and the Clippers.
Oh yeah, I could see it. I'd assume the Clippers will probably end up with a better record than them, and really. The Rockets and the Warriors both could, but I could easily see the Grizzlies being ahead of those teams just because they're inconsistent teams, both of those teams.
And then the Suns, I'm not going to say they're due for a fall off. They're having a fantastic year.
Yeah, but they are due for a fall off.
I mean, they are, but I don't want to say it now because I see the Grizzlies coming up again. I don't know. The West is just so loaded right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're looking at teams who the Nuggets are 1 game away from 500, the Timberwolves are 1 away from 500, and then the next two teams, the Grizzlies and the Mavericks, who are in the 8 and 9 spot, respectively, are both 6 games over 500. I mean,
yeah, the Grizzlies are only on the way up too.
Oh, exactly. I think the Grizzlies could end up with 50 wins. They've only played 46 games.
I could see it. I mean, they'd have to be really hot, but I mean, they are really hot. So
I mean, they've been playing out of their mind since Gasol came back.
Yeah, the Grizzlies are just one of those teams that they do one thing. Well, I mean, they play defense, obviously, but offensively, they do one thing really, really well, and it causes matchup problems for so many teams. And they basically just say, "We don't really care what you're going to do or what you have. We're just going to keep doing what we do." And
I think they're the best team in the league at getting the other team to play their game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been that way for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, no doubt about that. That's a really good point. They do what they're going to do, and they say, "Go ahead and stop us. Deal with it. Yep, sucks to be you because this is what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
We're just going to pound it inside. We've got a really versatile center that's able to play the high post, hit those mid-range jumpers. Is a terrific passer out of the high post. We talk about Kevin Love. Marc Gasol can just cutters. He can feed Zebo.
Oh, yeah, he's a great passer.
Things that he does out of the high post are really what makes that offense click.
Absolutely, and they're one of the hardest fouling teams in the league.
Oh, yeah.
They get you.
Zebo.
They're really good at, playing with that line of, is this a flagrant foul or is this not, is this regular foul?
They've got guys like Zebo and Tony Allen on the floor.
Even
Gasol, he's a tough guy.
Hard.
Oh, yeah, well, he's big. The fact that he's 7'1" or 7 feet tall, whatever he is, but he's thick, too.
Oh,
he'll
yeah,
smack
he's
you.
a big guy.
He'll smack you. If you come into that lane, you're not getting an easy bucket with them down there, with Gasol and Zebo.
No. We got others. I mean, there's a lot of teams right now who are playing similar. I don't want to say they're playing similar to Memphis, but they're kind of in that same spot. Like the Nets now, kind of figuring it out. It's obviously a different situation in the East.
I could see the Nets getting as high as 3-4 in the East. I mean,
yeah, the Hawks right now are in the 3rd spot at 25 and 21. The Nets are in the 7th spot at 20 and 25.
Yeah, well, and then the whole deal with the East is that the Nets are in that Atlantic Division, so if they can win that automatically puts them up to the top 4.
Yeah.
So.
Oh well, but right now the Raptors are there.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Raptors,
saying. If
they can get rid of Lowry, that'll be.
Yeah, but the things that I've been hearing lately is that it's not a foregone conclusion that they're going to get rid of Lowry anymore, just with the way he's been playing. I mean, obviously his value is much higher than it was a month or so ago.
Get rid of him.
That's the thing, but
because he's going to be due for a drop off.
That could be
Kyle Lowry.
That rumor that I heard of them wanting to keep Kyle Lowry or possibly keeping Kyle Lowry could be Masai Ujiri working his magic, because if word gets out that they want to keep him, that just makes him even more appealing to other teams, because then they know if the Raptors are out there saying we're going to trade Kyle Lowry, then teams are like, what's wrong with Kyle Lowry? Like, if you want to get rid of him so bad, what's the deal? But if the rumors are, oh, well, Kyle Lowry's tearing it up lately, and now the Raptors kind of want to keep him, that just turns into, Kyle Lowry, he must be really good if the Raptors want to keep him.
Yeah.
So that could be Ujiri just working his magic. But then the other thing I look at is this league, has turned into such a point guard league. And although Lowry has never really been consistent throughout his career, he's shown flashes of what he's doing right now. He did this in Houston. He went on stretches where he's a point guard that can get a triple-double because he rebounds so well, because he's stocky. He's able to get good position on the inside to get rebounds. And then obviously he can score and get the assists. It's hard to come across a star point guard, or at least a above-average point guard. So I'd be careful to get rid of Kyle Lowry, because if they do, and then they can't find another point guard and they're stuck with Grievous Vasquez or whoever, that could really hurt them. I mean, I don't know if they're looking to get somebody in the draft, but I don't know what their draft situation is. I know they have a Knicks pick, but I don't think it's this year's. I think Denver has this year's Knicks pick.
Yeah, Denver has this year's from the Melo trade.
Yep.
But But, I mean, we're looking at a guy in Lowry. He's been with 1, 2, 3 now different teams.
Yeah. Who was it before Houston? It was Memphis?
Yep.
See, he's only really played significantly with Houston and Toronto. He didn't really play much.
Yeah, in Memphis, when he was in Memphis, he started 9 games total. But in his second season in the league, in 07-08, he played in every game. So I mean, he was getting minutes.
Yeah.
And he had 800 points that year.
Probably playing a pretty key bench role on that team.
He's probably the sixth guy. He was probably the sixth man on that team or something like that. A guy coming out of the draft, point guard backup. It's a guy you throw in for some extra ball handling minutes, things like that. But then in Houston, I mean, he started to have injury problems a little bit. He never played a full season in Houston. Last year he didn't play a full year in Toronto. This year he's already missed he hasn't missed any games this year yet, which actually been kind of surprising to me, seeing as how the last 2 or 3 years have been for him. And he's started all the games for him this year so far. I don't know. I just don't know what. I mean, I understand what Toronto sees in him.
Yeah,
but he's on the back end of his prime right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily say the back end of his prime. He's what, 20?
He's just getting to the peak. He's 29 now.
29, and he doesn't have a lot of mileage on him because of the fact that he didn't play
But
as
if
much.
this is where you're peaking at, I mean, you might be able to get this out of him for another year.
Yeah.
But that's where I think he becomes a major trade asset, because if you can get this out of him for a year or two, that's where you look at trading him to a team like,
I don't see why his...
I mean, I don't know exactly where you would trade him, because there's so many good point guards in the league. But if you can take I don't know. I don't want to say trade him to Miami.
Trade him to the Knicks.
Goes.
That's the one that teams always look at. Is that
that's
the Knicks
a place
need.
that they could use a guy like Lowry. He plays defense.
I don't see why he can't do what he does for a couple more years at least. It's not like he relies heavily on athleticism. I mean, he's quick. He can get around, but he's
injury prone.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even say injury prone. He's just had a couple.
He's only had 1 full year.
Yeah, but I mean, so many NBA players, everybody gets hurt. At least
but there's a lot of guys who play all 82 games. Even with nicks and bruises and things like that. I mean, he has injuries.
Yeah.
Like strained hamstrings, quads, things like that nature.
Yeah, he does play with a bit of a reckless abandonment because he rebounds so much as a point guard. He gets inside and really bangs around with those bigs.
And he's not as big as you'd like to see a guy who goes in there and bangs around with those bigs.
Yeah. Big, height-wise, at least. Yeah. He's pretty stocky.
He's got some meat to him, but he's not, I don't know, he still gets pushed around a little bit too much.
Yeah, I'm a Lowry guy. I understand the whole thing about him being injured and the whole thing about he hasn't really been consistent, and that's what worries me the most about him, but just from what I've seen of him, I liked him a lot at Villanova. I like that they used to run out that 4-guard set.
That was always weird to me.
It was super weird, but it was kind of the initial small ball that it really took.
Small ball's got so many definitions now.
Exactly, but I mean, it was like the first time, or not the first time, but one of the first times where people were like, "Wow, well, look what happens when you throw out this smaller lineup that's quick and can shoot, and it just causes so many matchup problems for other teams."
Yeah.
And then when he was in Houston, that's when I followed him probably the closest. I went to a game actually once where he put up a triple-double, and that's what caught my eye and was like, "Wow, this point guard just threw up a triple-double." I remembered him from Villanova, so I watched him a little closer after that. I actually drafted him last year in fantasy basketball, and never really panned out for him because he's so inconsistent. But you see the things that he can do. He goes on stretches like the one he's on now, and you just think of all the possibilities that you have with your team when you have a point guard that does those
think about
type
every
of
time
things.
we've ever said that about him.
Exactly.
What happens right afterwards?
He falls off.
Exactly. I think you trade him now, get what you can for him, especially if you're the Toronto Raptors. You're rebuilding. Come on. I mean,
you don't want to be. They don't want to be winning right now. I mean, it really sucks for them that they're in the East.
They have a winning record.
Yeah, they have a winning record, and they're in the 3rd spot or the 4th spot in the East. I mean, it's not going to help them. It's it concerns me about Phoenix as well.
Screw them over.
It does. It is in the long run because all these teams that are bad are going to get these star players or stud guys, and the teams that are doing better than expected now, the Phoenixes and the Torontos, they're going to be they're in the bottom half of their conference now, or at least the playoff picture.
Yeah.
That's where they're going to be in a few years because they're not going to get any better. I mean, they'll get better because their players will develop, but they're not going to get any new pieces from the draft. The players that they have now aren't stars. Like Eric Bledsoe is really, really good, and I like him, but he's not like a take a team deep in the playoffs. Yeah, no, he's a really good player, and that's nice, but he's not a stud that's going to take you deep into the playoffs.
Yeah. Speaking of perennial All-Stars, Luol Deng.
Yeah.
He's not in the All-Star game this year.
I feel bad for Luol Deng. Just the whole situation in Cleveland is just a mess. It's a mess.
I don't get how you can... I don't get Cleveland.
Do they have their pick this year, or did they give that to Chicago?
They have.
They have this year's pick?
Yep. No, they traded their 2015 first round.
Okay, so...
They traded next year's first rounder and then 3 second-round picks from, I think 15, 16, 17.
If they can somehow, some way find their way into the top part of the lottery, I don't know if that means... I mean, they probably won't, because I'd assume just with having Deng and Kyrie, they'll probably find their way into the playoffs.
That's a push, I think.
You think so?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This team, the reports coming out of Cleveland are...
It sounds...
It's dumpster fire.
It sounds bad.
It really is. I mean, I see... the chances of them making the playoffs are... I would put the 76ers ahead of them.
Oh, wow.
In my power rankings.
That's bold.
I mean...
That's bold. Well, that could help them, though, if they can find a way to re-sign Deng and then
if they fire
somebody good.
Okay, here's my thing. And I've heard every rumor, every possibility that you can go through, going on forums, just online reading articles, things like this. I think their best course of action, and Dan Gilbert, I mean, he's not going to listen to this and say, oh, Drew Montanye had, the greatest idea ever the other day. But get rid of Chris Grant, talk to Kyrie, talk to Luau, and talk to Tristan. If they are down with Mike Brown and his coaching style, keep him. If not, throw the dude under the bus again.
Yeah.
Because those players are not playing basketball for him.
It's bad.
And it's not like, Kyrie's going to the All-Star game now, so it's going to be all fixed. And it's not going to be leave Mike Brown there another 2 years, and when Kyrie goes to FIBA camp this summer with the USA team, he'll meet all the stars and start playing inspired defense. That's not...
No, because what happens in that situation...
how it works.
We saw what happened with Kevin Love a few years ago. He went and played with all those guys, and all that made him do was get angry. He was upset because all these guys have been to the playoffs, and he hadn't.
Yeah, exactly.
He went out and spoke in
Kyrie's
the media.
Kyrie's get pissed and want to leave
Yep, exactly. That's what happened with Kevin Love.
Or he's going to, hold out on a contract, things like that. Now, and start... I mean, I could easily see him signing an extension, that 5 or 6 year, whatever it is now with the new CBA. I'm trying to wrap my head around the CBA the other day, and it's not easy.
I'm pretty sure it's 5.
But yeah, I think it's like a 5-year, $90 million contract extension that he's eligible for. I could easily see him signing that with the Cavs, but I would be shocked if there's not an opt-out after 3.
Yeah, I mean, the big deal with Kyrie is that he's stuck with the Cavs. I mean, he can't
really
leave because he's a restricted free agent.
They'll match an offer.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Cavs aren't.
That's why I think they'll just end up offering him the max right away.
Probably, because he's going to get somebody will offer him a max.
Oh yeah.
Well, they should, but with the way he's played this year, I could see it. Not happening, but for the most part,
I mean,
he's
almost guaranteed. He's at the 95%.
Just because we've seen what he can do, we've seen the potential he has, but I really don't. I'm not in love with Kyrie's game. He's so reliant on himself. He's not really a good point guard. He's really more of a shooting guard. He can create for others, but it's more off of him creating for himself and then the defense collapsing and he can kick.
I think it's finding the right offense for him.
Probably.
Because he can I think he's very capable of being a solid point guard. Being a guy who can distribute the ball. We've seen it this year a little bit. He's averaging a little over 6 assists a game now. up from his career average of 3.
Yeah.
He's almost doubling that. His turnovers are down from 3.5 to about 2.25. So his assist-to-turnover ratio is up to about 3 now, which is pretty damn close to where you want your starting point guard to be. You'd like to be about 4. Obviously, that's not realistic in some cases. And really, he's not having a bad scoring drop-off. He's been a little shaky from 3 this year. He's only shooting I think 39%, but we've seen a lot of guys this year start off.
Yeah, when he's just gotten so much attention. He's the only guy that teams seem to worry about.
That's the other thing. I think that people are really blowing this up, and I don't think it's actually. It's not justified. He is their one of 2 scoring options. Dion Waiters is not a legitimate scoring option in the NBA. There will be nights where he has, his shot is going to fall. That's about it.
Yeah.
And other than that, from Dion, you're not getting anything.
Yeah.
He needs to go, in my opinion.
That's what I mean by if they can get their hands on a good lottery pick and get a hold of somebody that can come in and be another scoring option, then they'd have a nice little mix with Deng, that reliable wing defender who can also score. Yeah, that's the key. If Deng resigns and if they can get a good lottery pick.
Right now, I don't see Deng signing.
Yeah, I mean, with the way they're playing right now, no, but he's got to be able to see the potential that they have there, playing with a star point guard like that, and if they were to get a good lottery pick.
Tristan really he's developing really well
in
the power forward.
Tristan will be, assuming he stays as their starting power forward, as the future progresses, as they're able to add talent, and through the draft, maybe one more pick, and he fits in as a really nice 4th option on a team like that. Just that nice power forward that's going to come out and give you 10 and 10 every night.
Well, he's up to about 19 and 10 right now.
On the season?
Or 16 and 10 on the
season.
Jeez. I mean, he's not 20-10 guy yet.
No.
But he has every bit of potential to get there.
Well, yeah. And
you got to remember, this didn't...
Playing with a different arm. He's
shooting
with a different arm.
He's shooting right-handed now. He's natural left-handed. He's doing everything right-handed right now, and he's still going for 16 and 10 a night.
Yeah, he's great. I mean, he's got a high motor.
He's got every opportunity to be a 20-10 guy.
Yeah, he's got the athleticism, the high motor.
And he does it so quietly. And he's not a guy who craves attention at all. He does. I don't even think he likes it.
Probably not.
I think he's a guy who, he comes in there and he's just like, I'm going to get my job done and you guys do your job.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see what happens with this team going down the road. This should be interesting. But any team with a guy like Kyrie Irving on it has potential. I mean, he's got the potential to be
my biggest problem. I went on a rant on the other day on Twitter, dude. People are calling for Kyrie to get traded. You're going to set your team back another 5-10 years if you trade Kyrie. Kyrie is an elite talent. He's not playing well right now.
So his value is low. I mean, you would never. There's no chance you could get what Kyrie's worth back.
Absolutely
no chance.
Not. No. And his talent, he's not playing well right now because he hates his coach. And you can clearly see it. You see Mike Brown running up and down the sideline trying to, call out a play or whatever for them to run. And he's just like, screw you. And he drives to the basket, turns the dude up sideways on his ankle, and it's like, whatever. And then the next play, he comes down and he lets him score 4 points on possession because he doesn't want to play defense. For a guy who is trying... See, here's my problem with Brown, too. Brown's defense operates off of having a guy like Bynum. And the same thing with his offense. You have to have a guy who's really good on the low block who can pass out. And he has to be able to make the pass quickly.
Yeah.
That's not what Varejao is.
Yeah, well, I mean, Varejao can do it, but he's just not great at it.
He's not a low post guy. Yeah. He's a high post guy.
He's just okay on the offensive end just because he brings so much energy and
he's
he can
really
pass.
Good rebounder. His rebounding numbers are down atrocious from what they were last year before his injury.
But either way, he just brings the energy, and that'll provide some stuff. And I mean, we talked about Tristan Thompson being a 2010 guy. Before we close up, I just want to talk about one last guy, and that is, we've talked about him plenty, probably the biggest all-star snub.
Oh, Jesus.
And chances are he'll be on it, filling in for Kobe Bryant maybe, and that's Anthony Davis. Over the last week...
I thought you were going to say Lance Stevenson.
That's another really good all-star snub, but no, I was... Of the 2010 guys,
I don't even count Davis as a snub because he's going to
be on it.
He's going to be in there.
Listen to these numbers over the last 7 days. So this is The last 7 days, it is. Give me a sec here. Now my computer's being slow. Oh, and it froze. Well, I think it's 3 games because he missed 1. It would have been 4 games. But over the last 7 days, he's got 25 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 7 blocks.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy is on a tear.
No, he's 20 years old and he's already a top 10 player in the NBA.
He is. No doubt about it in my mind. He is terrific. We talk about guys that can do so many different things.
He'll be on the All-Star team this year, and I'll be damned if he's not on the All-Star team for the next 10.
He will be. There's no doubt about it. He
barring injury.
Because he's only getting better. You see it.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't watch the whole thing because, I don't know, I just got bored with it. But after work last night, I replayed the game on League Pass from last night against Chicago just because I saw that he put up a huge night. But, I mean, you just see the things that he does now. He had one where he was trailing up the floor. I think they were pushing it up in fast break. And whoever the guy bringing it up was, it might have been Tyreek or Brian Roberts or somebody. They got into the paint or at least past the first line of defense. And Anthony Davis was trailing, caught the ball at the top of the key, in rhythm, just knocked down a jumper.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that the guy is 6'10".
His wingspan is 7'4".
Insane wingspan.
7'6",
athletic. Like he's one of the best finishers on the pick and roll. And now he's knocking down deep mid-range jump shots, and he can put the ball on the floor.
The dude is unreal.
He is unreal is the only way to describe it. He is off the
unreal,
charts.
The real deal. He's a top 10. I said it just a minute ago. He's a top 10 player, and he's 20 years old.
He is. It's crazy. I love his game, and I love the potential. It's only getting better.
Yeah, and on that note, that'll be the end of the inaugural Give and Go Sunday podcast. We'll be back next week, hopefully, to talk some more basketball.
And don't forget Wednesday on KRNU 2, 6 to 8, krnu.unl.edu.
Absolutely. See you guys later.